Okay, let's get a little look at the station. So we're just using a shortwave radio, and you can see the long wire going outside. We'll take a look at that. I have my laptop set up and trying to get a little video for you guys, a little instructional video. So that's the microphone and the video camera. All right, let's go outside and take a look at the long wire antenna that I have hooked into the back of this shortwave radio. Okay, what you see up here is a binder clip. You get those at Office Depot, and then there's a sliding barrel clamp on the antenna wire, and that acts as a stop, strain relief if you will, so that the wire here coming down is not pulling hard on my back of the radio. Okay, right there you can see the wire coming out. I've just cracked the window a little bit so the wire can exit. It's coming out underneath our porch, and that heading off to a pine tree back there. Let's go take a look at that. Here's the wire coming from my house and heading out to the support at the end. And I just have a piece of paracord with another sliding barrel lock, a little sliding loop, and this antenna wire happens to have two of these barrel locks permanently attached. One at the opposite end that you just saw, supporting it as it goes through the window, and the other one right here, just taking a little strain off. This paracord can be adjusted any tree that I need to support the wire at this end, and this just takes the strain off so that this part can be tensioned and kept up in the air. And then this goes out to a pine tree right down there. Okay, not actually a pine tree, I apologize. And apologize for the noise in the background with our waterfall. But here I've got the end of the antenna just supported on an aspen tree right here. Again, just another one of those pieces of paracord with a loop on it and a barrel lock so I can take up the tension. And then if we slide back here, you'll see here's the end of my antenna wire. You can see that I've got a small electrical loop permanently attached, and then that gives me an attachment point that I can put one of those paracord loops. I have two of those, one for the end and one for support at the beginning, and we're just supported on this tree right here. The whole idea with this system is to make it as portable as possible. So I can coil this wire up, I can attach it to any convenient tree at one end, support it at the other end, take the strain off with the barrel lock right there, and then I can run the wire into a tent, a cabin, a vehicle, into the shortwave receiver. Well, I'm going to be starting a series of videos to help those that are interested in communications for preparedness. The video series will be called PC 101, not politically correct, but Prepper Communications 101. And I thought I would start with what I'm doing tonight. I wanted to simulate radio communications for the non-ham radio operator to start with. And hopefully during this video series your interest in ham radio will be piqued, and you'll perhaps look into getting your ham radio license, which I think is a good skill set to have. But to start with, you can listen to the ham bands without having a license. So you don't need a license to listen, you do need one to transmit. I just got through making a long wire antenna, which I plugged into the back of the shortwave receiver, and that made all the difference in the world. If you go on eBay and look at shortwave receivers, typically called all band or world band receivers, and look for one that has single sideband capability. If you are a subscriber of AMP3 Preparedness Brief, we launched our first Preparedness Brief for APB on January 15th. At the end of that Preparedness Brief, I went over a few radios that are very popular for shortwave listeners. But let me go over this little support bag of items. Now, probably the most important item in there is my my comms plan, and this is under development right now, but this is the index of documents, and the first page here is the AmRRON digital voice nets, and they typically meet on the first and third Wednesday of each month, and then the voice nets or phone nets meet on the first and third Thursday of each month. So the comms plan is a critical item, and I'll go over my idea of a comms plan in a later video. Now I've got a set of headphones or earbuds. One thing that you can do is you can take the sound from your shortwave receiver via earbuds and just put them right on your microphone to your computer running a software. You can translate the PSK31 into text, and we'll go over that in a minute. But set of earbuds. This is the sound cable that will take external sound, in this case from the stereo jack on the shortwave receiver, and via USB into the computer to be imported into the software. In this case, on my laptop, I run something called FLDIGI, and again, I'll put all these links down below. But you can also do the same thing with a smartphone. In my case, I use an Apple iPhone or an iPad, but I believe the software also exists for other smart tablets as well as phones such as the Droid. If you're an Apple or Mac user, you want to get something called an iMic, and it's made by Griffin. And that allows me to take audio from an external source, in this case the shortwave receiver, and import it into the software. Now this is the very last time this guy will be in this bag. This has been my real problem so far, and this is one of those, and I'm sure other people have had success with them. I just was not very successful with this. So this is a long wire shortwave antenna that plugs into the back of the radio. I think it's about 23 feet long. One of the problems is it's very difficult to wind this thing up. When I first got it, I thought, boy, that's a cool, compact little package, but it's a real pain in the neck to wind up. I did like the fact that it has an 1/8 inch jack that I can plug into the back of the radio, and it also comes with this adapter. If your radio does not have an antenna jack, you can use this to clip onto an antenna. Now this radio has multiple antenna options, but a lot of radios come with a whip antenna, and you can take this and clip it onto the end of the antenna whip and use a long wire. One of the problems is this just did not work out for me very well, so I'm going to be ditching it. But I did come up with something that works better, and a lot of people will just take a length of wire and put an alligator clip on the end of it. And I did the same thing, but I made kind of a little compact package that has all the accessories that I need to run a long wire for this shortwave antenna. Now the wire that's on here right now is a heavy-duty version of this. This package, when it's wound up, is probably twice this, but it's also a longer piece of wire. I've got 50 feet out, hung on a pine tree out in the backyard, and I'll roll in some video at the end on this particular antenna. And again, it just has an 1/8 inch phone jack that just plugs into the back of the radio. So this antenna is 25 feet of 22 gauge wire, and this is the spool that it came on. You can get this at Radio Shack or pretty much anywhere, but I got this at Radio Shack. It's very easy for me to wind up on this. This I can wind up really quick. This was a pain in the neck. Okay, this is the two business ends. The very bitter end of the antenna, the one that goes out that direction, has a stud ring connector crimped on the end of the wire, and I just put some heat shrink tubing on there to protect it. Now I've got a nylon cord lock put on there, and I have one at each end, and I let it kind of sit on that heat shrink tubing, which is a little bit stiffer and it doesn't crimp up the softer 20 gauge wire. Now the reason that's on there is because I have a set of type 3 paracord loops that I can run this wire through, and depending upon where I set this barrel connector, that'll take up the strain on the wire as it's hanging from a tree. Now the other end is the phone jack to plug into the back of the radio, and again I've got another nylon barrel lock right there, and that sits at the end of the wire right before it goes out the window, or the last part before coming into the radio. And what that does is take up the strain so that I can have a tight wire going out the back, but the wire that's coming into the back of the radio is not pulling on the radio, and there's some slack there, which is a little bit better operating situation. So with those two nylon barrel locks, I'm able to adjust this for any particular type of setting. That's kind of why I call this a tactical shortwave antenna, is because I can deploy this anywhere, and with a binder clip and some paracord, I can hang and suspend it wherever I want. Okay, so that's my compact tactical shortwave long wire antenna, and it's a pretty small package and easy to carry in this bag. The last two things I have, this is an alligator clip adapter for that wire. If I'm near anybody that needs to use that antenna but they don't have a jack, I can just use the alligator clip to hook onto the whip antenna and then plug into the back there. And then this is a BNC connector all-band antenna for HF, and that goes on the back of this radio. And this is one of the features I like about this radio, is I've got BNC connectors for UHF, VHF, a BNC connector for HF, and then I've got an antenna jack right there that I can put a long wire antenna on. And so this antenna just sits right here like that, and in the right conditions this will work fine for HF. But tonight I'm using the long wire, and it's just giving me a better set of ears tonight, if you will. All right, so let's see if we can get some PSK31 on the shortwave. Okay, I don't know if the mic picks this up, but to hear that warbling sound in the background, that's PSK31. So it's a simple matter of hooking up our sound cable. We're going to use FLDIGI, and if you look right there, that's what PSK31 looks like when you are using this software. It almost looks like they call it a railroad track. Getting a great PSK31 signal here on the waterfall, 80 meters, and we are listening at about 1292 on this waterfall. I think the antenna thing becomes never-ending. I mentioned earlier, actually mystified that the loop was good DX or long range. I would hardly categorize it as lost it, and let me see. RX is clearly 1 to 2 dB quieter than any other antenna in that regard. So this is just exciting for me that this is coming in so well right now.